center. That ball is gone into Monument Park.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the 25th episode of the Monument Park podcast. I'm Cole Weintraub.
And I'm Luke Pravacci.
And the last episode's name was a little bit deceiving. With the lockout, classes, and other extracurricular activities, it's been extremely challenging to pump out episodes, but I think it's safe to say that the Bark is back officially for the 2022 season. Today, we're going to break down everything that went down in the lockout-driven offseason. I'm super pumped for baseball. I'm thrilled that I have the opportunity to sit down with my co-host. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back. We have baseball back. I mean, I don't know. Nothing happened throughout the offseason that was like, oh, we need to make an episode. Like, they were all just kind of like little moves that slowly built over the course of the offseason, a couple small trades, one bigger trade, but we didn't acquire or lose a superstar. So I wouldn't say it was the most remarkable offseason for the Yankees, but now that everything's happened and we know who's going to be on the team and who's not and all that, it's going to be good to talk it out and see where we're at because it starts on Thursday. I'm excited.
I am excited too. I mean, here's the thing. We had huge aspirations this offseason. Names like Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, Matt Olsen, Freddie Freeman, Trevor Story. I mean, these are all names that we considered as potential, guys for the team. And we didn't get any of them. And I think it was the first offseason, at least in my life, where it was such a big free agency. We had, big plans and we didn't get anyone we wanted. Like, if you think about it, 2014, we get Tanaka, Ellsbury, McCann, Beltran. I mean, we got everyone. And then you kind of fast forward to this offseason, and it's like, we didn't get anyone that, was, available. And that was a little weird. And I know, like, some people don't like to say, oh, well, they're the Yankees. Well, we didn't really act like the Yankees. So it was a little disappointing. I know me and Luke have, sort of come to terms and have kind of accepted it. And we agree that the season is going to go better than it did last year. This team is better than it was last year, and you can't really argue that. Top to bottom, the team's just better. And, there might be some holes in some places, but, those holes aren't really any different from last year. Like we're going to get into it, but, the holes are fairly similar, but we just got better players. So like I said, missed on every shortstop: Seager, Semien, Story, Carlos Correa. You could say Andrelton Simmons, but I don't think any Yankee fan was too upset with that. So yeah, I mean, Luke, I know you were big on Carlos Correa. Like, what was kind of your reaction when the Yankees, didn't bring in any of these guys?
So I knew we were going to get a shortstop, obviously, because we didn't have a shortstop going into the offseason. The Gleyber Torres at shortstop plan was a disaster. Didn't work at all. He was like the worst player I've ever seen in my life until we moved him back to second. He had like a 50 OPS plus. Like, it was terrible. So I'm glad that, we knew that was coming to an end. And then, we were never super in on Semien, and Seager got a ridiculous amount of money. He got so much money. So I kind of, part of me knew with Volpe, I knew we weren't going to break the bank. So I was thinking Story was probably the most realistic option. I'm still a little surprised that didn't happen, but I'm not like heartbroken over it by any stretch. But when Correa signs for 3 for $100 after we trade for Donaldson, who's like similar money, and I like the Donaldson acquisition, I really do. But just the concept of that, like, you would much rather have a left side of the infield of Carlos Correa and Gio Urshela than Josh Donaldson and Isaiah Kiner Falefa. That's just like math. Like, you can't not. So that's disappointing. And then I thought we were going to get Olsen or Freeman after the trade because we're the Yankees. Like, I thought we were going to make one big splash. And I do like Rizzo too. Like, I think he brings stuff to our lineup that we've been lacking the last couple of years. So again, I'm not disappointed with that. The only one I was disappointed with was Correa. Olsen would have been great, but I'm not. I've come around to. I think I've come around a little more than you even. Like I think this team's significantly better than last year. I don't think you're ready to say that yet, but just like when we were going through it earlier today, making our projected lineups, which we'll go through later, I was getting a little excited. Like I really think our lineup is so much better balanced if they do the right things. Like we still have Gallo, obviously, which is a disaster. But top to bottom, I think it's so much more balanced. There's so much more experience, so much more working the count, just a different vibe from last year because we were never going to win with that core. I think the shakeup was needed. We did miss out on some stuff, but overall, I'm pretty excited.
Well, I'm not sure if you were listening, but in my open, I did say that this team was significantly better than last year's.
You said we were going to be better. I'm like significant, like especially the lineup. Like I'm very high on that lineup. Like very high.
Well, here's kind of how I saw it. When you talk about Gio Urshela, there's a part of me that still misses Gio Urshela, and if it meant that we could have gotten Correa, kept Urshela, and if the Twins were so pumped to trade, or maybe this was a whole part of this plan, and maybe it wouldn't have gone like this, but it still doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But a guy that I really wanted the entire time was Mitch Garver. I texted Luke probably, a month into the offseason, and I don't think Luke really like he knew about Mitch Garver, and we like to talk a lot about the juice ball season in 2019, but Mitch Garver did something in 2019 that I don't care if they were, playing with those balls that you find in Walmart. Mitch Garver hit 33 home runs in, I believe, 100 games. That's like insane. Like there's no other way of putting that. And then I come to realize I didn't think he was a very good defensive catcher. He was top 5 in framing last year, I believe. So he's, in my opinion, a top 5 catcher in the game. Catchers are so hard to come by. So when I see Texas trading Kiner Falefa, the guy that we eventually end up with, for Mitch Garver, and we're stuck with Kyle Higashioka, it's really disappointing. And a part of me is like, why didn't we just use Gary and a couple prospects to go get Mitch Garver? I mean, they eventually got Gary, clearly took on Gary. And I know they have no aspirations of re-signing Gary, because who would? But it's just, I wasn't big on Correa, but I kind of came to terms where it's like, we're in a position right now where we need to win. Like we need to win. And I'm sick of losing. And he's a guy where it's like he steps in, he's your shortstop, he's your guy, he'll hit home runs, he'll play a great shortstop. And then we could have gotten Mitch Garver too. And you're telling me they traded Kiner Falefa for Mitch Garver, and they traded Kiner Falefa the next day? Like, that's really disappointing. And I think it's overlooked. I don't think a lot of people thought about Mitch Garver as an option, but if we were just going to be stuck with Kyle Higashioka, why wasn't Mitch Garver an option? It just seems like it was a premature plan.
I don't think we were planning on trading Gary. I really don't. I think we were going to try to get Kiner Falefa from the Rangers. And I think Jose Trevino, who we traded for later, was going to be a part of that. I think that's the deal we were probably trying to work, because that makes sense. And then they just traded him to the Twins. Like the Twins just gave him Mitch Garver for no reason. Like, I don't think if trading Gary was the plan and then we're stuck with Higgy now, I'd be like, what? But I think it's hard to sit back and look at the bigger picture and think that that was the plan. I'm glad we ended up getting rid of him because he was an absolute black hole on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. But I think if we were going into this offseason thinking about catcher, then it would have ended up better. And yeah, catcher in our lineup, it's going to be a problem. Even though Higgy's hit like 1 million home runs in spring training, that's not real. Like anyone who thinks that has like significant substance, I think is crazy. But other than catcher, I'm really excited for our offense. And then hopefully defensively, hopefully the pitchers pitch better because they don't have Gary behind the plate. They couldn't throw certain things. I'd imagine. I mean, the guy was incapable of being a major league defensive catcher. So I think that's something that we're upgrading on. I do agree, though. I wish the upgrade at catcher was more significant.
I mean, we haven't had a legit starting catcher since, maybe the first year of all right, Gary was a pretty solid defensive catcher in 2016, but he played like 85 games. Gary was hideous in 2017, and he continued to be hideous all the way through. And it's a bummer because it seems like they've already punted on the position after it was already punted. It was slated in as a punt, and they had an opportunity to fix that, and they didn't. And yeah, I understand shortstop was a need, but like you said, Volpe's coming around the corner. So when you have Volpe around the corner, who's coming around the corner behind the plate? Austin Wilson, 2 or 3 years? Like that's not an option. And he's like, I've read some things about his defense. It's solid. It's not solid, but it's average. And I think, an average defender compared to, I think Kyle Higashioka is an average defensive catcher. And I don't think I'm crazy to say that. I think if Austin Wells is an average catcher, that's fine. But Austin Wells is going to come in 2 or 3 years. Guy just finished A-ball. So, sure, we didn't really get our shortstop for the future, but we also didn't get our catcher for the future. It didn't really add up. I felt like for how little the Twins got for Mitch Garver, it was a move we had to make. And it was kind of a move where it was like, after it was made, it was like, we needed to make that move. Like we needed to, and we didn't. So there's my 2 cents, but moving on. Matt Olsen. I mean, that guy's an alpha. We didn't get him either. I understand the prospects that the Braves gave up to Oakland were legit guys. Shea Langoliers, Christian Pache, and 2 other guys. Those are good prospects, and I get it. But the contract extension that Matt Olsen got was, I wouldn't say chump change, but he's not getting that much money, and he's going to be, a top 2, top 3 first baseman for the next 5, 6, 7 years. So another bummer because he's a young player who would, continue to progress and kind of come into his own because, in New York, it's hard to play. But I feel like if we gave him an extension, he'd be on the team long enough. He'd kind of come together, kind of like Mark Teixeira, although Teixeira was pretty much the MVP the year he got to the Yankees. Pretty bad example, but I just think it would have been a similar dynamic with Olsen and, Freddie Freeman too. The money with Freddie Freeman in the 6 years, I didn't really like 6 years. 6 years is a lot of money for a guy who's 33 years old, especially when you got LeMahieu under contract for 5 years. You'd end up, you might win a World Series, and I guess that's the only goal. And I would take it right now if it meant having a 38 and 39-year-old DJ LeMahieu and Freddie Freeman, but we got a World Series out of it. At this point, that's how I'm thinking. Get us a World Series. I don't care how you get it. Just get it. And I don't think this team is going to win the World Series. So how do you feel about the team in terms of, how we, we'll touch on this a little more later, but how do you think we match up against the rest of the league? Because you say the team's significantly better, and I agree, but are we good enough to, win the World Series? I don't know.
Other than Tampa, I don't think there's a team we can't beat. Everyone's crazy high on Toronto. I'm not as. I understand they're good. I'm not as. Everyone in the Central stinks. Like, that's not a problem. We'll wash anybody in the Central. I don't think that's a problem. And then the West. The Astros get worse every year. They're still going to be there, obviously. They lost Carlos Correa. Like, what? Like, they got worse. They got worse. And then other than that, the A's suck. Like, it's not.
they did just, get Justin Verlander back. I know he was already on the team, but he wasn't on the team last year, and that was a big dude. They went to the World Series last year. Like, I know they lost Carlos Correa, but they got Verlander back. Pitching was their issue down the stretch, so I agree. They did get worse, but they still have, I think, 6 All-Stars in their starting lineup. So, I mean, dude, they've got Brantley, Tucker, Altuve, Bregman, Gurriel, Alvarez. I mean,
We can beat that team. I'm not saying they're not good. They'll be there, but they're getting worse every year. Justin Verlander's like 90 years old. Like, I'm not saying they can't beat us. They could beat us. Like, they're good, but we could also beat them. The only team, like, I don't see us beating the Rays right now. They're so nasty. Like, Wander Franco. I know you're the one who put this on the doc, so you want this to be your thing, but I mean, he's like the best. Like, he's so good. That's pretty much where I stand. I think we could beat anybody in the AL except for Tampa at the moment.
I think Tampa is just absurd. And it's like, you think about these like small market teams, right? And you think about these small market teams, and they don't have, the best players. And I think that's what makes them like, I'm not a Rays fan, but they're fun to watch. They really are. And like, you got guys like Brandon Lau. I mean, that guy, second baseman who's 30 home runs. Like, where did he come from? A Rosarena, like, in a trade. Like, these guys are making no money either. Wander Franco's getting the most money, and he's getting what, maybe $16 million a year. Yeah, it was a total Rays deal. Who knows why he took that deal? But he just took it because he wanted to kill the Yankees for his career. Austin Meadows, another guy who kills us. And, I think I heard that they're looking to trade him. Kevin Kiermaier's defense still remains. Manny Margot is a good player. Mike Zunino is a really good player. They just have got Yandy Diaz plays pretty well. They've got guys. And like, sure, like all these like not big name players could have a down year. That's very possible. But I just don't think it's realistic. And they are so good, and their pitching. I know they won't have Glasnow for a while, but their pitching, it seems like it doesn't even matter who is pitching for them. They're just good. So they fix everyone. And now Corey Kluber's there, and that's a scary sight. Corey Kluber being a Tampa Bay Ray is scary. If he stays healthy. The guy threw a no-no last year. And I know guys just throw no-nos, but he was nails. So I think Tampa, I agree with you. Tampa's that one team that will give us trouble. And it doesn't seem like we can really win in Houston. So there's that. So moving on, Anthony Rizzo is back. He's back in pinstripes, and he's been really contributing during in the spring training, and he's been hitting bombs. We saw a bomb the other day. I'm really excited. I know, really excited, a strong word, but I'm excited. And I know we lost Luke Voigt, and people know I'm a big Luke Voigt guy, but it was time to move on. We weren't winning anything with Luke Voigt, and he wasn't really, he was doing just as much good as he was bad. And it wasn't really, it wasn't going to really help us. I think Anthony Rizzo does more good. He plays great defense, and that's just the player he is. He's a winner. And you saw in 2016, he can put you on top. So no, Luke loves to talk about this topic. He has since last July. So see what he says.
I'm under the impression that Rizzo is the epitome of a guy who can help you in October. He works the count, plays great defense. For us specifically, he's lefty and he adds balance because last year we didn't really have guys that were lefty or worked the count or not walked, but actually had good at-bats or play defense. So I really think he was a necessary piece for us for sure. And I think we definitely took that into consideration combined with the DJ deal, and that prevented us from getting Olsen. And then everything I said about Rizzo, Voit just never was, which is okay. Like, he's still a good player, but not for us. And I think he'll probably be more of a positive impact to San Diego than he was to us. So I thought it was time. And I think if our team was constructed different, I think maybe it would go the other way. But that's not really how it goes. And so I'm excited he's going to be in the top of the lineup. I like his at-bats a lot. He's one of my favorite guys to watch, just take pitches and have a good at-bat.
To put it on the record, to put it on the Monument Park record, me and Luke have a bet on the table that if Luke Voit plays I believe it's 133 games.
It has to be lower than that. He's not playing that. Do 120. 120. I'm changing it right now.
That means he'd have to hit a home run every 4 games. So now you're just messing with the terms of the deal.
I thought it was average or like OPS. It's home runs. Okay.
So if Luke Voit hits 30 home runs in 133 games, I get my money. And if he doesn't, then I mean, Luke Voigt's he might hit 50 home runs. I'm just playing. He's going to hit 30 home runs, and 22 of them are going to go straight off that warehouse. And he's going to love San Diego. I mean, that guy literally slammed Diego. I mean, that's him. That's Luke Voit. And I think he fits perfectly on the Padres. He's just a guy. He's just a guy. I'm sad to see him go, but in return, we got right-handed pitcher, Justin Lang. Justin Lang, drafted in 2019, I believe, or just drafted in 2020, around the 20th pick of the draft. This dude throws gas, and he might not know where the ball's going, but excuse me, this guy throws gas, and if he can develop through the organization, he's super young. He's drafted out of high school. If he can develop through the organization, this kid could be legit. And if he is, then sounds like a good deal to me. But like, just go back of Rizzo, 2 years, $32 million, $16 million. Pretty sure Matt Olson's gonna get $22 million a year. So it's like, but he is an option after the first year. I wouldn't be necessarily opposed if he walks, but I mean, if we win the World Series, let's bring him back. I mean, he'll be on the team. You won't want to go anywhere. Who knows? He might run off into the sunset. So I like that move. Just a little underwhelming. I think the whole point of this offseason was just underwhelming. And to go back to that trade of Donaldson, we didn't really talk about it. We're taking on $42 million of Josh Donaldson. That's a lot of money for a guy that's going to play 2 years for the New York Yankees. And it just goes to the Carlos Correa. I mean, dude, he's going to get $8 million less a year. I mean, Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just better. It's just better. The team would be better right now if the Yankees had Carlos Correa. And that's just how it goes. So, yeah, I don't know.
You're not going to hear me argue about that. I mean, I was a big Correa guy. Yeah, I needed the moxie. We had to get some of that moxie. I thought the team as a whole kind of melted in big games. Wasn't a lot of mental toughness. And I think Donaldson and Rizzo, more Donaldson. Rizzo's kind of just like cool. Donaldson will bring you that fire that I don't think we had. And I was asking for that all offseason, so I'm happy it's here. But I mean, 3 for 105 or whatever for Carlos Correa would have been the right play for sure. But I think in terms of this offseason as a whole, it was underwhelming. I agree 1,000%. But I think we realized we couldn't just give everybody all these years. Like DJ, years. Judge is about to have a lot of years. Stanton, years. Garrett Cole, years. Like we needed to get to the next window, so to say. Like Volpe's coming, Peraza, like there's potential of other people like Medina, whatever. Like not saying we have a set in stone like core four by any stretch, but I think they want to see I think they like what they have in the system. And I think they were not keen on giving a bunch of people a ton of years. I do. I mean, 3 for 105, I'm furious about it. I'm not going to hold you. I'm really upset. That bothers me.
especially with the option after the first year. I mean, he could just leave.
It's a Rizzo deal, and it's Carlos Correa. It just bothers me. That bothers me. I'm not happy about that. But other than that, and the catcher thing, you're a little more fired up about the catcher thing. Like I understand where you're coming from, but it's like, I don't know. Sometimes things just happen weird. But other than Correa, I think the offseason went well, and I think it went how they wanted because they didn't want to commit to anybody at first base with DJ's contract and now lack of spot, which I think we should probably talk about now. Because on Fangraphs, he's projected to not start opening day, which I think is insane. But I think that came into it for sure.
We will get there momentarily. Just to run through a quick couple moves. Well, Ben Rorfet was another guy that we got in the trade. Luke likes to call him Ben Voldemort. Don't really know where he got that one, but that's just what he calls him. Starting on the IL, he's going to play some games in Tampa. So, a defensive guy, left-handed, but it really doesn't seem to matter. He can't really hit. Traded Albert Abreu and Robert Alstrom. Robert Alstrom, left-handed starter, drafted last year from the University of Oregon. Good stuff, but we traded him. And he actually found out that he got traded on social media. So that was a bit unfortunate. I'm sure that's not how he wanted to figure out that he was going to Texas after being a Yankee. Sorry, Robert Alstrom. But, Albert Abreu is a guy that me and Luke said on countless times last year that, he had a role last year, but he would have a legit role this year in the bullpen. And like I said on the Instagram video, he's no longer on the team. So he had no more options. And that's why we moved on. And it's because we moved him back and forth between Scranton like 8 different times last year. And that's why he had no options. And it forced us to trade him. So it just makes no sense. And it's unfortunate because I think that Albert Abreu is a really good relief pitcher. He throws upper 90s. His stuff moves. He's a good pitcher. And Luke knows that too. He gave up 22 earned runs last year, 11 of them in 2 games. Dude had a couple rough games. But if he hadn't given up those runs in about those big games, his ERA would have been, under 3. So I think it's a little bit disappointing. But Jose Trevino, top 5 framer in the game, going to add a lot of defense. And he hit 240 last year. He had probably the most lopsided batting averages to on-base percentages that I've ever seen. He hit 240. His on-base percentage was 270. He was either getting a hit or he was sitting down on the bench, and that was it. So he hit 240, and that's significantly better than Gary Sanchez. So maybe he can bring that. Who knows?
I thought Albert Abreu was going to be a stud for us this year. I think the next trade that we made with the Mets, the Miguel Castro for Jolie. I mean, Jolie's useless, let's be honest. So I think they think Miguel Castro can give them what Abreu was going to give them. I saw Miguel Castro throw 1 ball on Instagram, and I was sold, and I was ready to forget about Abreu because I think I could like Miguel Castro just as much. And when I saw this Jose Trevino trade, I just thought of Jose Molina from 2009. Like, that's really what it feels like. Just an anchor defensively. I think that stat you just told me where he hit 240 and has a 270 OPB, does that mean he walked like 3 out of 100 plate appearances? That's the most obscure thing I've ever heard.
I'm sorry. It was 267.
How is that even?
12 walks, 302 plate appearances.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, I don't know. The guy doesn't even know how to walk. So that sucks because Abreu was good, but that's all right, I guess. I don't know.
He's the epitome of see ball, hit ball. And that's what he.
Like, I was just a big Abreu guy, and I hear this guy doesn't know how to not swing at everything. But I do. I mean, we needed a good defensive backup catcher. So I mean, I guess that's fine. I wish our starter was a little better, even though he's hit so many home runs in spring training. But I don't know. Underwhelming position. But what are you gonna do? Last thing, the Judge extension. I think it's just a matter of when. I think it's pretty clear what he's gonna get to. Like I think either probably you think 6 or 7 years. What do you think?
I want to go 5. I just know it's not going to get it done. So 6. Dude, he's 30. He's 31. I can't. I just can't do 7. I'm sorry. I can't. Think about it. When the Yankees signed A-Rod and they had Mark Teixeira at the very end, sure, they had like a good 2015 season. But I mean, 2016, that was horrible. I mean, they were one of the worst teams in baseball throughout the first half, and it wasn't for Gary, they wouldn't have had anything. So it's a little. I love Aaron Judge, and if it meant that we were going to win a World Series in one of these 7 years, I would do the deal. Okay, fine, take the deal. 7 years, we get a World Series out of it. That's beautiful. I think Aaron Judge should get just as much money as Bryce Harper. I think I do. I think just because he's Aaron Judge, he plays in New York. We have a lot of money. I know Harper just won an MVP, but if Judge had been in the National League, he may have won the MVP. So I think 6 for 180 million. I mean, that's 30 a year. Judge is not getting under 30. I'm sorry. It's just he's not getting under 30. And I think Harper's his market because he's a right fielder. He's very successful. And that's just his market. I mean, that's literally the market. I'm putting it on the table. That's his market.
He's not gonna take. I don't think he's gonna take less than 200 mil. And I think the only way it gets done is if we give him the 7th year, because he's gonna get 30. That's obvious. But I also just don't think he's gonna take less than 200. I just don't see it. I mean, I just think with like the injuries and stuff, like he has been injured a ton throughout his tenure. I think that should matter in these negotiations. And I don't think it's going to. I just know it's going to get done. I think 30 a year is more than fair, but I think if he's going to take 30 a year, he's going to want the 7th year. And I think that's where things will probably get hung up for a while. But I also don't think we have to talk about it much because I would be absolutely shocked if he wasn't a Yankee by the end of it. So it's just we got to let it play out. And Beltran pretty much leaked it. Like, did you see that? They all think that he leaked it on air. I don't know. I mean, maybe whatever, but I think it's a matter of when, not if.
I think the last thing the Yankees want to do is give Carlos Beltran inside information after what happened. I mean, he was an advisor a couple of years ago for the team. Remember, you might remember this. James Paxton was pitching against the Sox, and he was tipping his pitches from second base. I wonder why that wasn't a red flag. Well, he's been in the organization. He did clarify that was just that he wasn't actually saying that Judge has been extended. He said he wished Judge got extended. There is his first broadcast mistake. I agree with you. I mean, $200 million, that's a lot of money. And I feel like in today's world, in today's market, these guys are taking the money over the years. And I think think about it. Trevor Bauer. Don't like to talk about him, but I mean, that's an example. That's an example of taking a lot of money and an absurd amount of money in a very short deal. I think Aaron Judge is going to take a 6-year, maybe 190 million. Maybe that's what it's going to be. Maybe it's going to be like slightly over 30 a year. That's fine. I'm still not in love with it, but I mean, once again, if we get a World Series out of it, I'm literally not going to be complaining. I'm going to like it. And I think that's all we have to say about Aaron Judge. I mean, if we get a World Series, the money will be all worth it. And that's how it is. If we get one World Series in the next 6 years, are you and I going to be complaining about it? No, not after what we just went through. And it might take us 3 years to get a World Series, and I'd still be just as satisfied, maybe even more. So that's it with Aaron Judge. And to go back, Miguel Castro, I love that deal. Joey, damaged goods. I don't know if he's goods. He's just damaged. And he had a neck injury. And, it looks like we're going with the organizational guys, with the lefties. JP Sears probably making the team. I'll touch on that in a minute, but Miguel Castro's got dirty stuff. All right, moving on to spring training. We said a lot about Kyle Higashioka. Dude's been hitting tanks. I mean, dude's hitting bombs. And he's got the most home runs of anyone in spring training. And hopefully that translates, but it probably won't. Let's be real. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is hitting, I believe, just over 400. And that's a really good sign. Guy's a singles hitter. I think not a lot of people look at his batting average. They go, 270, whatever. Pretty sure he led the majors in singles last year. He's your prototypical singles guy. And I think the lineup needed one more of those. And sure, his OPS plus or his WRC plus, weighted runs created, is terrible. It's terrible. And he's got like the 30th lowest WRC plus since 2019. And that's not good. And some will say that's the best stat to measure a hitter. Luke clearly doesn't care. I think he's gonna be good. And I know he loves being a Yankee. That's cool. I think a lot of guys like being a Yankee. He's just been more vocal about it. So it's cool. And I'm gonna call him Izzy because Luke hates it. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I might call him Falafel, some kind of falafel, or I might call him Izzy because Izzy is he's getting Izzy with it. So like that really good sparkling water, Izzy, you know what I mean? He could like spark something.
Guy. We needed him in our lineup. Hit a lot of singles. We need singles. We had nobody hitting singles last year. DJ was hurt. Glaber was doing whatever he was doing. So we didn't have anybody to hit singles. Now we have a guy to hit singles. We can't do the Izzy thing. That just makes me want to puke. I don't like that name. It's funny though. It's good for the balance. What do you want me to say? He's good for the balance. It's not Carlos Correa, so I'm not like pumped, but he's good for the balance. WRC plus, I don't care because sometimes you need a player like him in a lineup that balances out the 5 guys that can't do anything other than hit home runs. And I think that he's that guy. So I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to watching him play. Let's put it that way. I'm not like angry he's on the team. When we first traded for him, I was furious. And then when we didn't get Correa, I was beyond furious. I was on a plane for both of them. Fun fact. It was a bad week, bad time. It was just not a good time to be traveling with all the Yankee stuff going on. But I think as a lineup, I think he helps the team that we have already put together. So that's my take on him.
I agree. And he's going to play good defense. He won a Gold Glove 2 years ago. And I don't care if that award is loaded and it doesn't mean anything. He won a Gold Glove 2 years ago, and it may have been in a 60-game season, which just rips it even more. But I don't really care. Josh Donaldson's been hitting bombs. You can really already I'm not repeating what Luke just texted me. It's very funny though. I will say that. Josh Donaldson brings this presence. Luke loves to talk about presents. He loves Christmas. Josh Donaldson gets in the box and I don't want to get up like I've done in multiple episodes, but he gets in there and he's rocking and he's rocking and he's ready to go. And he takes a pitch. He's like jumping up and down. He's like a more conserved Juan Soto. He's like a get in your face Juan Soto. And I like that. And he won't hit like Juan Soto, but he'll finish. I'm putting it on the record right now. He'll finish with an 800 OPS this season. And if he doesn't, then it was a terrible move. And I'm really upset at the Yankees. If he doesn't finish with an 800 OPS and we don't win the World Series, okay. If he finishes under an 800 OPS and they somehow win the World Series, okay, Josh Donaldson, you can stay for 10 more years. I really don't care. But Josh Donaldson can't be on the Yankees if he's going to put up under 800. I'm not talking 790 that doesn't cut it. It needs to be 800. So I think he's put up 800 OPSs every year since 2013. So if he doesn't do it now, then the Yankees are cursed, as Frank the Tank likes to say about the Mets. So pumped about Donaldson.
This is what I've been talking about, where we needed to kind of raise the standards a little bit and add some professional guys, like the way you were just saying that you're going to like lose your mind if Donaldson doesn't get an 800 OPS. The guy he replaced had a 720 OPS. And I know he had 2 good years before that. I understand. But I don't think we can shrug our shoulders. I just think generally we're getting better. And I think it's not something you're going to see at first glance. But when you really think about it, he has the moxie. He has the moxie. He does. And he's a veteran. And he has experience. And I think those are all things we needed. And he still does play good defense. And he can DH when Stan plays the outfield, because we need to find Gio or DJ spot. That just has to happen. So I think I'm excited. I'm very excited about Josh Donaldson. I'm semi-excited about Kiner Fluff. I'm very excited about Josh Donaldson.
I have a comment on your knock about Gio Urshela. We weren't paying Gio Urshela $25 million to have a 720 OPS. We're paying Josh Donaldson 25. And if he finishes with 70 points higher on his, and it's still, 780 or whatever, it's still disappointing. And he's getting a lot more money. Gio Urshela was set to get like $6 or $7 million this year. That's chump change. I mean, that's nothing. So
it's not our money.
Okay, I was muted. Okay, Tommy Smokes. It is not our money, but we're constantly talking about how the New York Yankees need to go out and spend their money, and then when it's a situation like this, now it's not our money. It makes a lot of sense, Luke. But I just think he's got to put up 800 OPS. He's got to hit home runs. He's just got to be that guy, because we're paying him to be that guy, and if he isn't that guy, then that was a bad move. Moving on. Oh,
I don't disagree with anything you said in here and in this episode, which if they had heard our off-season conversations, this is a big moment for us, I would say. The standard's just higher now with the players on our team, and I'm thrilled about that. Like the same goes for Rizzo. If he doesn't play 150 games, 140 games, we're going to be disappointed. If Voit played 80, we would be happy. Like, I'm just glad like things are moving. Like we're going in the right direction. And I think this short window that they're trying to make, it's a little weird. We've never really had a team like this. But I think the fact that we're talking about guys and it's like we're locking in 800 OPS, we're locking in all these games, we're locking in good defense. That's stuff we haven't been able to do. And so this is getting me excited. Like I'm not a positive guy necessarily, but I'm getting excited about the team talking about this.
I'm excited too. Baseball's back. And part of what a good team always needs is a guy on the bench that can do it all. And it's looking like the Yankees got someone who might fill that void. And while he might, flake out after the first week of the season, right now we can act like he might, contribute to the team in some way. And that's Marwan Gonzalez. Marwan Gonzalez, the same Marwan Gonzalez who had the best stat jump of any 2017 Astro, probably utilized that cheating scheme more than anybody on that team. Not while it doesn't matter, cheating is cheating, but Marwan Gonzalez really cheated and he did really well. Marwan Gonzalez recently has stunk. So when I say recently, I mean in the big leagues. Spring training, Marwan Gonzalez is a different freaking story. This guy is unconscious. He's hitting upper 300s. He's, shown some power. He's shown that he can play shortstop, which is cool. He might be the backup shortstop. I mean, that's crazy. Gleyber Torres, they put him at shortstop in one of these spring training games. He made like 2 plays, and I was livid. I was just livid he was even there. Why is he there? He's not a shortstop. You just don't play him there. So Marwan Gonzalez can do something for this team, and I'm excited for it because if he can get his bat going a little bit, this will be good. This will be good. Another guy that you could just punch in, the guy can play first, he can play second, he can play short all of a sudden, third, and the corners. So left field more. But he's a guy that could be very valuable, or he's a guy that could get cut a week into the season. He could have the same effect that Drew Brees. What am I talking about? Drew Brees. Jay Bruce. Sorry. Could have on the team. Sorry. I don't know why Drew Brees crossed my mind. Sorry. Go Boilermakers.
I think he's our backup shortstop. I don't think any other player on the team can play shortstop. Gleyber at shortstop is the worst baseball player I've ever seen in my life. He's so bad. Like, he can't hit anything. He can't field a ground ball. He's so bad at shortstop. And that's going to be a problem because now DJ doesn't have a spot. But we have a great defensive shortstop in IKF. And now if this guy can keep hitting at like somewhat of a rate, he can be very valuable for us because he can play short and he can play other positions. So I definitely think if he has a good year or if he figures it out or whatever, he transforms our bench. Because other than that, we have Andujar. You're a big Andujar guy. I like Andujar as well. I think his hitting's awesome. When he's right, his hitting's awesome. Castro brings speed and defense. In our projected lineups that we're going to get into later, we made sure to both have DJ and Gleyber also in the lineup. So that leaves Hicks on the bench. I think there's a very real possibility that Hicks is in the lineup and someone else is on the bench. But in our scenario, Hicks is on the bench. I think he's a great 4th outfielder, and I think he's not a bad 3rd outfielder. He's a below average 3rd outfielder, great 4th outfielder. So I would be hyped if the lineup shook out the way that leaves Hicks on the 4th outfield spot because he can come and give you at bats. And Trevino, I mean, he's Jose Molina. Like I said earlier, it's just what I think of him, and I'll not think anything else probably ever. So, yeah.
You really mumble sometimes, and I'm sorry for the people at home, but I mean that's just what it is.
Still recovering from strep throat and pneumonia for all the people out there. So I'm getting a little tired.
For anyone that is on YouTube, I'm currently playing the smallest violin ever, a Mr. Krabs reference. So I know Luke hinted at that we were gonna start talking about something later on. And then he just went right into it, but that's fine. Garrett Cole, he is an 8. We'll touch on that later. Garrett Cole and Luis Severino haven't been throwing too much, and it's because of this shortened spring training. And that's just what it is. We don't really have to talk much about it. Guys are just going to be going shorter in starts, and that's fine. Everyone's going to have that same thing. No one's built up. So to move on, Luis Hill, great in spring training, really bad last start. Luis Hill has already been optioned to AAA, and so has Davey Garcia. But I mean, Luis Hill, he is a big future for us. I think he's what Job Chamberlain was healthy. I do. I think he brings that fire. I think Davey Garcia is another guy who could be really important for us. The guy has increased his fastball velocity from 3 to 4 miles an hour. He's back to what he was when he was thought to be this crazy big prospect. That's really good to see. Now he has value. I think he's got value. One good season in AAA, and this dude's got a lot of value. And he might be in the rotation next year. Who knows? So excited to see him. But to go into the lineup, we got 3 points. DJ needs to be an everyday player. I don't have to say too much about this. The guy won a batting title in his second year, and he almost won a batting title in his first year. So the guy has one bad season, and he's injured the whole time, and you're just going to bench him. I do understand that DJ LeMahieu is going to come to Yankee Stadium every day ready, regardless if he's in the starting lineup or not. That's cool. But I think he's got to be in the lineup. He's going to make the team better. It's just going to work. You can't sit Gleyber Torres. You can't. You can't sit Gleyber Torres. You just can't. If you sit Gleyber Torres, he won't play well. So he's got to be in the lineup, and it's got to be at second base. There's nowhere else you could play the guy. Luke said something about Aaron Hicks. He's an average outfielder. He's not a below average outfielder. He's an average outfielder that always gets hurt. And you might look at him as a below average outfielder because he gets hurt all the time. And that's fine. But I think when he's healthy, he can even be he could be a slightly above average outfielder when he's healthy because he gets on base at an extreme rate and he hits higher than Joey Gallo does. So, I mean, if you want to factor that in. So I think Stan's got to be in the left field 4 out of 7 days. I think Gallo has to be in center field. I think he's got to maximize his defense in center field. I think he's a gazelle. I think he's 6'5" and he runs around like he's a giant and he plays. It looks like he's a freaking tight end. He looks like George Kittle out there. I really think that. And I think he would play a really good center field. And Judge isn't right. I think that's such a good outfield. I do. So I think that's got to be what it is. What do you think?
Yeah. In terms of the outfield, I'm pretty set on Gallo has to play center. If the guy's going to hit 204 and be a black hole, like I heard this point on maybe it was Twitter, maybe it was another podcast or something. If the guy hits 50 home runs, which he's not going to do, but say he does out of 162 games, that means he is offensively an absolute waste for the other 110 games because he's not going to hit other than that. So if he's not going to be productive in the lineup and he's going to be in the lineup every day, the guy has to at least fill a position that we need. And so I really think he has to play center. Stan, if they don't play Stan in the outfield, then I don't have any words. I just don't know what's going on because this opens up. DJ has to play like a lot. The guy should be at the top of our lineup every day. And even though we both have it projected that he will, I don't think he's gonna. Because like you said, they can't bench Gleyber. They can't play him anywhere but second, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that like third base isn't a thing. And I've never seen him play the outfield. So it's second base or nothing, which is unfortunate because we have 2 players as primary positions second. So now I think when Stan plays outfield, Donaldson's going to have to DH and DJ's going to have to play third. And it's unfortunate for DJ. He's in a tough spot. We just paid the guy like 6 years. Like he should get treated better than this, but it's an unfortunate situation that we can't avoid. So I think right now that's just our best. These points kind of give us the best possible way, and they never do what makes the most sense. Let's be honest. In terms of lineups, in terms of bullpen, whatever, they always do some weird stuff where it's like, what's going on? So we're going to get on here next week and probably talk about the stuff they did that made absolutely no sense and didn't have anything to do with what we just talked about. But right now, this is what has to happen, I think. Honestly, I agree with you on everything you said, 100%.
Right. So my projected lineup to jump in it, we have a bench. We're not going to go too deep into the into the pitchers because it doesn't really seem like there's a lot of question with it. But Trevino, Hicks, LeCastro, Andujar, and Gonzalez to begin the season, I believe by May 1st, it changes from 28 to 25 or 28 to 26. So a bunch of guys are going to be leaving. But that's fine. But I think to start the season, you got to go Trevino as a backup catcher. Hicks is the fourth outfielder. LaCastro as a fifth outfielder with a lot of speed. Andujar, good bat, still can swing it. Probably needs at bats to be really, productive, but so be it. And Marwan Gonzalez should just be the Swiss Army knife. So my starting lineup would be LeMahieu batting first, at second, Gallo in center, hitting second. Judge in right batting third, Stanton left batting fourth, Rizzo at first batting fifth, Donaldson DHing, batting sixth. He might not be happy with that. Torres batting seventh, playing second base, Higashioka behind the plate batting eighth, and Kiner Falefa batting ninth, and over at shortstop. I think that's a very, very strong lineup. And then you could flip flop Gallo and Rizzo, but I think with me, I think Joey Gallo in the 2 spot, that relieves a lot of pressure from the guy. When you're hitting sandwiched in between DJ LeMahieu and Aaron Judge, you're going to see pitching. And say DJ gets on base, Gallo's got a good chance that he's going to strike out. And I know that's kind of funny, but if he strikes out and DJ gets on base, there's 1 out, and you still got one of the best hitters in baseball, one of the best power hitters in baseball right behind him, and then Anthony Rizzo. So I think putting him in that second spot relieves some of the pressure. It'll let him it'll let him walk, and it won't be like a crummy walk. It'll also prevent him from coming up in the 6th spot with 2 outs and striking out. He won't come up in too many 2-out situations batting second. So personally, I think that spot, shout out Dan O'Rourke for that piece, because I really liked his reasoning batting Judge or Gallo second. So that's kind of how I think of it. Luke, what about your lineup?
I didn't count. I really like the point about Gallo second. I think that's a great way to draw it up. I really like my lineup as well, though. I have DJ first, playing second, Rizzo second, playing first, Judge in right, Stanton left, Donaldson at third, Gallo in center, Glaber DHing, Higashioka catcher, Kiner Falefa shortstop. I'll start from the bottom. I like Kiner Falefa is kind of like the second, like you always talk about like the second leadoff or whatever in Little League or whatnot. But having a guy who's like going to get a hit a lot of the time to lead into the top is genuinely a good plan to have. So I think he should hit ninth. Higgy at 8, he's our worst hitter. It's just what it is. I do like the Gallo thing. I think batting him top could have a lot of pros, could have a lot of cons. But in my lineup, I still have him sandwiched in between Donaldson and Glaber. And if Glaber's right and Donaldson's Donaldson, he's still going to see pitches. Maybe not to the extent of in between DJ and Judge necessarily. But I think that is another potential way to go about it. Because, the first 5 of DJ, Rizzo, Judge, Stanton, Donaldson, you don't get a break. You really don't. And I think that's something that demoralizes pitchers second and third time through the lineup. It's like, all right, they got through it once. Now it's second time coming up, and it's DJ, Rizzo, Judge coming up. That's scary. I don't know. That's just it's a small change. We both have a similar idea. I also think Glaber DHing is something that doesn't get talked about, and I don't understand why not, because he's just a terrible defender. Like, why can't he just DH? He's a minus player in the field anyway. So I don't see why he wouldn't be a DH at times.
I don't know what I did with my lineup, but oh my God, I completely goofed. I had DJ. I made an error, and I'm really sorry. I had DJ playing second, and I also had Torres playing second. I need DJ at third. Or I need DJ at second. I need to put Donaldson at third base. Excuse me. Let me just reread my lineup. Just give me a moment. So Glaber's got to be the DH. So I have LeMahieu at second, batting first, Gallo hitting second, playing center field, Judge in right, hitting third, Stanton in left, batting cleanup, Anthony Rizzo hitting fifth at first base, Donaldson at third, hitting sixth, Torres the DH, batting seventh, Higashioka behind the plate, hitting 8th, and Connor Falefa is the second leadoff man playing shortstop, batting 9th. That's the lineup. It can't be Donaldson as DH. It has to be Gleyber as the DH.
I like that switch. I mean, obviously I do. I just made the point. Like I just talked about it too, but it's how it has to be. The difference between our lineups pretty much just I moved up Donaldson one spot and then flipped Rizzo with Gallo. And I think they both could work. I think they're just a different way of looking about things. And I think either way, dude, we have a pretty dangerous lineup. And it's a good, I like this lineup a lot. I don't think I was saying that last year. I don't think I was like thrilled about the lineup. I think I was thrilled about the team overall because I just thought like Kluber was going to be nice. Obviously Cole's going to be nice. Like I don't know. I kind of just assumed we were going to be good and we weren't. And that's okay. We were pretty good. We weren't great. And I think this is a lineup that is improved. And I don't think the pitching got worse at all. I think Sevy's we need Sevy to step up, dude. Like, it's just what it is. But in terms of the lineup, we've went through our lineups pretty much done. Like, either one of these lineups would be sick. And we just need Jazz to play. That's just it.
I'd like to make a point. With your lineup, I would really like it. I would like it if it was Gleyber Torres was going to be a really good player this year. Because if Gleyber stinks, then they can just pitch right at Gallo, or they can even pitch around Gallo. They can pitch to Gallo's weaknesses, and he'll strike out, and then and then Gleyber, and then when Gleyber's off, Gleyber's an out. So I think if Gleyber's hitting really well, that lineup I like probably just as much as mine, because I like Donaldson in the 5 spot as well. I think he really fits that spot. And I think when you think of a 5 hitter, you're thinking of a guy that with power and the ability to drive in runs. Donaldson's done that his whole career. To go with the pitching, I mean, Luis Severino's got to be a 2. Jordan Montgomery's just got to be Jordan Montgomery. He's got to stay healthy. Tyone's just got to be a 4. I know that sounds weird, but like if what we saw from Jameson Tyone in the second half last season was really impressive. For those like 13 starts he made, he was the best starter on the team. He was dominant for like a dozen starts. And if he could do that again, give us like a month or two, especially when he was doing it was in August. We need that. And then Nestor. If Nestor can pitch like a freaking 2. We saw that last year. His ERA was 2.9 in 90 innings. So I think we've got a good rotation. I think there's upside at the very end. I think Luis Heel could factor himself in at the end. It all depends on injuries. The bullpen set, we don't really have to talk about it at all. I think this bullpen is the best in the American League, and I don't really care what anyone else has to say. I think the Dodgers and the Braves are 2 of the best pens, and I think the Yankees are right there with them. So we talked about how we're going to match up against, Tampa's gross. I think Toronto's really good. I think the Yankees are going to play Toronto well, but it's really how Toronto plays against these other teams. If Toronto really, really, has a great success against other teams, it's going to be a different story. They're going to win a lot of games. It's just about the games that we play them. Those are the ones that sway the division. And we play them like 14 times. Boston, another team you really don't know, but they just have a tread. They had Trevor Story. Their pitching is really bad without Chris Sale. Even with Chris Sale, it's nothing to, bring home about. So I think we're better than Boston. We just are. And Baltimore's Baltimore. So, yeah. I think, I think that really wraps things up. We talk about the opening weekend preview, even AL wildcard rematch on Thursday at 1:00 on ESPN. Yankees, Red Sox at Yankee Stadium, opening day. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. It's here, and it's really exciting. And I'm really pumped that baseball's back. I know I said it in the open, but I'm pumped. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. Cole versus Eovaldi. I don't even want to talk about how we got to attack Eovaldi because it didn't work in the episode before the wild card game. So just win. And it's looking like Severino, Pavetta, and Montgomery and Houck to finish out the series. And I think we go and play Toronto after that. It would be Tyone and then Nestor. Or actually, talk about this. Garrett Cole, 80 pitch count in the first game. And it's looking like Nestor Cortez is going to come in for Garrett Cole. So that might sway the rotation a little bit, but I think he might not pitch very much, Nestor. Might go 2-3 innings if all goes right. Because, I mean, if Cole goes 80 pitches, if he can get through 5, Nestor can get it to the 7th. Then we go, Holmes. Holmes, Loizaga Chapman. I know it's going to be Green Loizaga Chapman, but it should be Holmes Loizaga Chapman. Luke loves Chad Green. It's really funny. And I'm not a big fan either. So I think that's got to be what it is. But if we can get there, I think we've got a good shot. But yeah, Garrett Cole, 80 pitch count, write it in. Luke, any thoughts about this opening series at all?
We should wipe these dudes. Like, come on. Even Nick Pavetta. Like, I know I can't be saying that because now he's going to shove, but I think it's go time. I really do. I just think we're better. I think we're better than they are, and I think we're better than we were last year. I think everyone's healthy. I think we're ready to go. I don't know. I'm worried about that Toronto back-to-back. I'm worried one of those two will get us, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm confident as well. I feel like the general consensus around the Yankees is down, and that makes me comfortable in a way, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to be good.
I like the fact that we don't have like the second best odds to win the World Series this year, because in past years we have the best odds to win the World Series, or some of the best odds to win the World Series. And this year, like Toronto's at 3, the Mets have better odds to win the World Series. Like, come on, give me a break. But I like that. Because, I'm not going to say we're bottom feeders because we just aren't. But, in terms of like these playoff teams, I think some people think we're on the outside looking in. And I think a lot of teams, a lot of people think the Yankees are going to finish in 4th place. And that is what I like to hear, that the Yankees are going to be a 4th place team. All right. If the Yankees are in 4th place, then, the Yankees are in 4th place and they better rip up the team, but they won't be. And put it on the record. If the Yankees are in 4th place, I'm not going to make this stupid thing where I'm like, oh, I'm going to shave my head. That ain't going to happen. But I think the Yanks, I'm not going to say they're going to win the division, but I like to think the Yankees are going to win the division. Right now, you have to say where the Yankees finish. Where do you think they will?
They're going to finish in 2nd place, and they're going to be the top wild card. And we're going to have to play the wild card game again at home. And you are live on Instagram right now. And I just want you to know that. Is that on purpose?
Yes.
Okay. I was very confused. But yeah, I think we're going to finish in 2nd. I think the Rays are going to win 135 games. And then we're going to be in 2nd, and we're going to play in the wild card game. That's my prediction.
Right. I mean, now isn't the wild card series, is that a thing now? Or is it the one game? I'm pretty sure it's.
I have no idea.
Well, it's expanded playoffs. I'm not sure if the wild card series is a thing anymore, but I think it's a bracket now. So I think it is. So the wild card game becomes a wild card series. Don't necessarily like it, but it doesn't shut us out, because last year, there's two sides of looking at it. The year before and then last year, where we won the wild card series and we lost the wild card game. So we're going to do something a little fun now. We're going to go over the MLB Awards predictions, our MLB Award predictions. Luke and Cole. Luke, lead them off with the American League Rookie of the Year. Who do you think?
Josh Jung. He's from Texas Tech. He hits bombs. He hits absolute bombs. He was great in college. So that's my pick. I think he's going to hit bombs again with Texas.
Texas Tech to Texas. Home sweet home. He does hit bombs. He's going to play a good third base. Andy Ibanez is their third baseman. I feel like a lot of people don't actually know who Andy Ibanez is. So I think that bodes well for him. I think if he gets his chance, and that lineup especially, there are going to be a lot of guys on base. I think he's got a good chance to hit a lot of home runs and especially with guys on base. I think the American League Rookie of the Year is going to be Jeremy Pena of Houston. Shortstop, you have Carlos Correa on the way out, Jeremy Pena on the way in. Hand him the throne. He's hitting just under 400 in spring training. He's got a couple home runs. This guy's a stud. Put it down. Shout out Just Baseball for Jeremy Pena. That's who I'm going with, American League Rookie of the Year. That's just what it is. Luke, AL Cy Young.
If Jeremy Pena is good, like nasty, I'm going to be furious. They don't deserve another one. Like I can't have it. I can't have this. It's just not something that can happen. If he's good, we may be in trouble with them. Anyway, my saying of the AL is Garrett Cole, and I don't know who else could even win it, to be honest. Like I think he wins it by default, to be honest. I don't know. He's just the best pitcher in the American League. It's just what it is.
And I'm not going to shut out every other pitcher in the American League. I still think there's some guys there. Verlander, Robbie Ray won the Cy Young last year. I know everyone just writes him off that he's just going to have a bad year because he's Robbie Ray, but there's no guarantee. I don't think he wins the Cy Young. You got guys like Lucas Giolito who can really pitch, guys like that. I'm going to Garrett Cole too. That's just my guy. And there's no bias. Luke, National League Rookie of the Year. Let's hear it.
I was looking at the odds. I picked O'Neal Cruz from Pittsburgh. He's just a freak, but he's not called up to start the year. So I pivoted to Sixto Sanchez because he is gross.
I think if Sixto Sanchez can stay healthy, because he's had a lot of injury problems. I mean, he was drawing comparisons to Pedro. He's like, short, he's not pudgy, but he's got a really, really, really strong pitch mix. Throws really fast. There's a reason why he was centerpiece in the JT Realmuto trade. I think he's really good, and I think he could really, really help out that Miami rotation that's already really good, and one of the most underrated in baseball. So I like that pick. I'm going to go with Seiya Suzuki. I think after, O'Neal Cruz, who I think was one of the favorites to win the award, isn't called up immediately. I think I just pivot right to Seiya Suzuki. I think the guy's going to hit 20 plus home runs. He might hit over 250, but I think that wins the award. And there might be some guy that's, I'm not talking about, but I think he's the safest pick here. And I think that pick just makes the most sense to me with the circumstances. So, Luke, tell me about your National League Cy Young Award prediction.
DeGrom was the lock until he got hurt. I think you could go Scherzer. Realistically, he's going to be anchoring that staff. I think you could go like Walker Buehler or whatever. I don't know. Just nothing really crazy stands out to me. Obviously, Corbin Burns is a dog. No spoiler, but he's really good. But I was looking, and Jack Flaherty was just lurking down there for me. I don't know. I think it was a little down. I think the Cardinals need to like make a move. Like they got to be good one of these, like really good one of these years. So I just think this is the year they put it together as a team, and I think Flaherty leads that. And his values, he's low on the odds. Like he's not the favorite. So I think that stood out to me in terms of value. And I'm high on the Cardinals this year. So I think that's what came into my answer. What about you?
I like the Cardinals too. They're very fundamental. I think they had 4 or 5 Gold Glove awards last year, which is absurd. You don't really hear about that anymore. But I think they're a very good team. I like their veterans. I think they just have a young core, and they've got old guys, and like Adam Wainwright's still a savage. So Yachty. The Cardinals are a very likable team, and I think Jack Flaherty is a likable pitcher. He's got is Jay Flair. That's his nickname. He's got flair. I'm going with Corbin Burns. He's going to be the most unknown back-to-back Cy Young ever. He pitches in Milwaukee, a very small market, but it doesn't really seem to matter. The guy's a savage. Throws a sinker, slider mix, absurd. Throws a great cutter. He's a stud. And then it wouldn't be a dark horse because the guy finished second to Corbin Burns last year, but I'm gonna go with Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler, his second half in his last season with the Mets was absurd, and I think he carried it right over to Philadelphia, and here he is pitching great. And I think Wheeler's really going to step up this year, and the Phillies really need him to. The Phillies will be a really good baseball team if Zach Wheeler's pitching like he did last year. And so that's that for the Cy Young. But how about the most valuable player, the most important award here, Luke? American League MVP. Who you got?
So I've been having theories about the Blue Jays all off season. They've occupied a lot of my time thinking. They lost Simeon and Robbie Ray, their ace, and then their second best hitter last year, I would say. Vlad is going to win the MVP. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to win the MVP. And I think it's going to be in due part because he's going to have a ridiculous season with probably a high 900 OPS, like something crazy. And I also think his kind of partner in crime, Bo Bichette, is going to be a little down. I'm really not a Bo guy, and I don't know what it is. He's going to regress. And I think him regressing combined with Semien being gone and just seeing how ridiculous Vlad is going to combine. And it's going to be so clear that he is one of the best players in the game. And I think I'm planting the seed about Bo Bichette right now in case he hits 250 because I really don't think he's going to be that great. So, yeah, I'm going to go Vlad.
I think when any shortstop hits 330 home runs, it's hard to just say. I get it. And I know hitting 300 and hitting 30 home runs is really hard to replicate. But the guy was a big prospect. And it seems as though he's really, molded into a star. And he hits pitching. And he's got that swag to him. And I think he's one of those guys where it's like, I just don't really see him struggling. But I'm very open to your opinion, and he could very well regress. And if he hits 270 with 25 home runs, I don't know if you're going to be dancing up and down, but if we're talking about regress, we're talking about like a Gleyber Torres. That one's most notable, So Vladimir Guerrero, favorite, makes a lot of sense. I'm going Aaron Judge. I just am. I'm not too sure if this deal is going to get done. And if it doesn't, he's a lock. He's a lock. He's your contract year MVP. That's just what it is. He's going to have the biggest chip on his shoulder, and he's just going to go nuts. And that's cool. So that's my pick. NL MVP, Luke.
Before I go on MVP, if Judge has an MVP year and we don't win the World Series, we are screwed in every aspect of everything ever. Because we're going to have to pay him $300 million. Like, we're going to have to pay so much more than we were going to have to pay. And then we're still not going to have a World Series. It's just I hope he hits 1,000,000 home runs. I want to get this deal done. I'm scared of giving him another. But then on the flip side, if he signs the deal and then he has a weird year, like gets hit on the hand another 5 times, like it could go wrong. So it's a tough situation. But yeah, you're right. If he doesn't sign that deal, he's gonna win. He's gonna go nuts. My pick for NL MVP is Bryce Harper. He's my favorite player in MLB, not on the Yankees. I just think he's a stud, and I don't know. There's obviously players that are worthy of it too. I just think Bryce Harper's just a dog. Right.
Back-to-back MVPs. Jordan 96-97. Whoa. Very pretentious. Bryce Harper, he's a stud, and he does a lot for that Phillies lineup. And not a lot of people were really paying too much attention to Bryce Harper last year, and I think that's what I liked about him the most. He kind of like won the MVP, and I think it was because the Phillies weren't great. And we're kind of seeing a theme with like these awards with the team not being very good and the player still winning the award. I think so. I think that's a very good one. And I'm going to go with his former teammate, Washington Nationals right fielder Juan Soto. I think this guy is just a freak. The guy could put up a 415 on base percentage, and I mean his batting average is a lock to be 295. And I think it's very realistic to say that. And I think he can pop 30 home runs, and even if he doesn't, he just gets on base at a ridiculous number. Juan Soto is my pick. If it's not Juan Soto, I'm going to go in the division. Austin Riley, dude, hit 303 with 33 home runs and 107 RBIs last year. Those are MVP numbers. He's got more guys around him in the lineup this year. He's going to see more pitching. He's just going to be a dog again. And, I could also see Trey Turner pulling through. He does so much in every facet of the game. So, Luke, thank you for your predictions. Excuse me. My predictions are there. We will revert back to these at the end of the season. But that wraps things up. Thank you guys all for watching or listening. The Monument Park podcast is actually back this time. And I'm not pulling your guys' leg. Something big could be coming on the way. We'll keep you guys updated. You might see a little change. You might not. There could be something coming on the way, and we will keep you guys updated on that. But like I said, April 7th, New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox. Let's go take 2 out of 3. Let's get these series wins going like we did last year, and let's just get the season going on the right track. And I think if we do, we're going to be with our heads high in the dog days of the summer. Luke, anything to finish off this beautiful episode?
No, thank you. I'm excited to be back season 2. It's fun. I mean, baseball's back. This is the best. So, yeah, no, nothing else. Next time we do an episode, we're going to be talking about, like, real games that matter, which has been a long time coming, especially the lockout. That was pretty brutal. So, yeah, thank you. We'll see you guys.